We have just concluded celebration of Purim, and as you've learned from Rabbi Nematov, in Jerusalem, in the World City, they are still celebrating. They will celebrate on Sunday as well, Shoshana Purim. But I want to tell you one of my favorite Talmud stories about this Jewish holiday. It discusses the mitzvot that requires a person to become so intoxicated on Purim that they cannot distinguish between cursed Haman and blessed Mordecai. Yes, boo. But immediately after this statement, the Talmud presents a story of two great friends and sages, Rabbi and Rabbi Zera. They prepared a Purim feast together, and when they became intoxicated, Rabbi stood up and accidentally killed Rabbi Zera. The next day, upon sobering up, Rabbi realized what he had done and pleaded to God for mercy to revive his friend. And now, we all know God is all merciful. So, Rabbi Zera was brought back to life. The following year, Rabbi, having learned nothing from this horrific experience, says to Rabbi Zera, "Come, my friend, my master, let us prepare another Purim feast together as we have always done." Rabbi Zera replied that miracles do not happen twice or do not happen often, and I do not want to go through that experience again. In his work of Halakha, Rabbi Moses Israel states that while excessive drinking might help someone forget the distinction between evil Haman, Boo, and blessed Mordecai, one can also achieve this state through their intention. What matters most is the kavanah, the intention behind the mitzvot that we are commanded to do. The Rema says that performing this mitzvot requires heartfelt intentions. Just like in prayer, when we perform mitzvot of any kind, we should be attuned to the kavanah, to the intentions behind why we do these mitzvot. This helps to transform these mundane kind of actions into spiritual experiences. The halakha here addresses that for a person who is not physically able to fulfill this mitzvot of, for example, drinking excessively, they can satisfy through directing their hearts to the heavens. And I believe that this teaching is true for all mitzvot that we perform in our times and in our days. On Purim, we are obligated to give gifts to our friends. Why do we do that? First, we have to knock on their doors, talk to them, ask how they are doing. By doing so, it's not about gifts. We are creating and strengthening relationship and ensuring that people are not alone. Before sitting down for a festive Purim meal, we are obligated to give to the poor. It teaches us that our joy comes from knowing that somebody else is sharing in our existence, that somebody else is joyful on this day as we are. Unlike other Jewish holidays, like Passover, where we attribute the redemption of the Jewish people entirely on God, Purim is different. We read a scroll that does not even mention God's name. Many commentators have sought to find God's presence in the book of Esther. One entire translation in Aramaic called the Targum 1 and 2 actually inserts God as an active participant in this story alongside Esther and Mordecai. Some commentators have tried to explain God's absence and link it to the non-observant, life of the Jews in Shushan, while others suggest that the lesson here is that sometimes the courageous actions of men and women can save our people. This week, amidst a well-planned, successfully funded project of building the Mishkan, the tabernacle where God will dwell among the people of Israel, and the chaos of creating a golden calf that the Israelites embark on, we are reminded to observe Shabbat. There's a commandment to observe Shabbat in between days. What is the relationship between Shabbat and Purim, you ask? The Zohar, like Rabbi Nematov told, imagines that in the world to come, in the Messianic times, we will not observe any of these other Jewish holidays, but Purim, and it adds Shabbat as well. That means we will live in a world of endless joy, for sure. But why Shabbat and Purim? Even in a perfect world, as we know, we need a balance between the joy of Shabbat and the joy of Purim. These two holidays give us different levels of joy. The joy of Shabbat is the joy of laying back, a time of calm, a time of rest, a time of peace, a time of reflection. During Purim, we indulge in grand celebrations, festivities, loud noises, celebrating and dealing with the complexities of human actions, as we see from the book of Esther. The key here is remembering what pocket to pour from. To circle back to the story of Rabbi Zera and Rabbi. While Rabbi Zera finds a different way of celebrating Purim that year, that does not threaten his life, Rabbi, on the other hand, learns nothing from this story. So I think maybe perhaps let us not wait for the next world, the world to come, the Messianic time. Perhaps what we need every year is to create a Shabbat-like moment that allows us to sit back and reflect on the purposes of this seemingly chaotic and disturbing story of Purim and its celebration. How this story reoccurs across different generations, including our own. Perhaps our responsibility here is to ensure that in our days, the story we write has a better ending. Shabbat Shalom.